Alright, so for this one, if you really want to play along with like what the rhythm synth, like the bass synth is doing here, I like to take the low E string and drop it down to a C. Alright, so we just can tune that with the 3 on the A there. So you can try to match like the octave thing happening with what the rhythm synth is doing. And it's doing this really cool, like, sequenced eighth note just hits on, a D to a C. So you could just do like, 4 sets of 8 on the D here. So the 2nd fret of this low C now. Alright, just try to get them just nice, uniform sequenced eighth notes there. And then you would just come off to the low C. Same type of deal there. And if you wanted to do just kind of like an overall like chord thing happening here, you could start with like a D7 sus2, which is basically like open D with the 2G, 1B, open high E. If you just wanted to like strum an acoustic over it or something and just do it that way. And then you could just basically keep the same thing we have there, but then just throw in a C bass note. And that would make it like the C6/9 thing happening. So you do the 3A, open D, 2G, 1B, open high E. And since we're in C now, you could just, if you wanted to do the drop low string, you could just throw in the open low C with it. Up to you. So all we're really doing is just the same chord, but the first one, just doing the open D, and then the second one, just throwing in this C bass note with it. So if you want to do some chords on that, you could do it that way. As far as the kind of main guitar riff here, we're doing, somewhat of a clean thing, but you definitely want a bunch of like delay and reverb on this. Get it real kind of spacey and like, distant sounding. But the initial thing, we do an open D, open high E, hold them just a moment, one more, open high E, go to 1 C, so. Alright, then we do 1st fret on the high E, open. And here's where the chord switches, or the bass note switches to the C. And then it's open high E again. Hold that a moment, do it once more. Then we do open G to 2. And then we do this little walk down of open D, 3G, 2G. And that whole thing just cycles like that. Alright, other than that, eventually like the bridge section, I guess, and this kind of carries over into the outro, I suppose, but we get a very kind of sequenced synth over the top of this lead synth thing, and it's a fun little pull off and arpeggiated thing we can do up here, where initially we start with G string here, we go 14, 12, go 12 D, do that twice, and then we do the 14, 12 G again. But then we just kind of start it all over, so we'll just kind of go 14, 12 G again. So it's like, okay, and that starts it all over. Alright, and you would crank through that, 4 times, and then we would switch a little bit by just doing 13B, 14G, then the 12D, so more just kind of like a upward arpeggiation now. And it's the same type of deal, the 3 notes twice, and then the first 2, and then just start over. And if you can get it kind of choppy synth sounding, that's cool too. Like, alright, just kind of like stopping the note after you pick it. So a little expert thing if you want to mess with that, but that carries out like a handful of times again. And you would go between like those first 2 positions a couple times like that. The timing on it gets a little funky, where eventually maybe we only do that second part like 3 times, then go back to the first time a few times, and then just kind of jump into the next section, which the next spot after doing those first 2, like that, we do 15B, 14G, 12D, and just go up that way like we did the previous one. So essentially we're just changing one note. Alright, the first one is just the 14G switches to a 13B, and then the 14G and 13B just become that 15B. So just changing one note in each position here. And this 15, 14, 12, that carries over well into like the next section. So it's a little heads up on that. So a lot of fun riffs in this one, really cool vibes. Hopefully it gets more attention. It's kind of an obscure gem that I found, but that's kind of the flow I'm going with recently, trying to shine some light on cool stuff that may not get the exposure it should. So hope you enjoyed it, dig the song, and we'll see you next time.